There are many places with extraordinary realities, but surely you would never imagine that there is an island so small that you could cross it in less than 1 minute. Welcome to Migingo, a piece of land in the middle of Lake Victoria that is smaller than half a football field, yet hides secrets that will shock you. This tiny piece of land is possibly one of the most densely populated places on the planet, and if I told you that this minuscule island is not only disputed by 2 countries but is also surrounded by waters infested with pirates, would you believe it? Here, the inhabitants live in extreme poverty, and as if that weren't enough, they say an evil spirit haunts the island. But the most unbelievable part is yet to come. On this tiny island where you'd expect to find just a few houses, there are approximately 14 brothels. In this video, we are going to explore the dark secrets of Migingo. Get ready to be amazed. Migingo is a small island located in Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa, and the second largest freshwater lake in the world. Situated near the borders of Uganda and Kenya, the island has less than half a hectare of land, making it extremely compact. Despite being one of the smallest inhabited islands on the planet, Migingo is surprisingly crowded. Approximately 500 people live on the island, resulting in one of the highest population densities in the world. Migingo's strategic location, in a region rich in fishing resources, has attracted fishermen from different countries, turning this small piece of land into a bustling hub of economic activity. Life on Migingo is an extreme representation of chaos and adaptation. This small island is described as a true maze of metal shacks, assembled without any form of urban planning. The structures are stacked on top of one another, with no clear divisions, and the lack of space creates a situation where privacy almost doesn't exist. With less than half a hectare, the island has an absurd population density, with around 100,000 people per square kilometer. The sanitation conditions on Migingo are unsurprisingly alarming. There are no toilets on the island, forcing residents to use Lake Victoria for both personal hygiene and other sanitary needs. This situation worsens health problems, as the lake is also the water source for many other activities on the island. There is a rudimentary division of hygiene areas between men and women, but the overall conditions remain far from adequate, highlighting the harsh reality of living in a place with virtually non-existent infrastructure. Despite these hardships, the island maintains an intense community life. There are bars, restaurants, and even an improvised casino that serve as meeting and entertainment points for the inhabitants. These spaces provide much-needed relief from the difficult daily life and strengthen community bonds, as survival on the island depends on working together. Migingo, despite its chaotic conditions and political disputes, is home to a vibrant nightlife that has become part of the local daily routine. The tiny island has 14 brothels, as well as bars that sell alcohol and some light drugs. These establishments cater both to the residents and the fishermen who come seeking relaxation after long days on Lake Victoria. The brothels and bars of Migingo have become a gathering point, and despite the cramped conditions and precariousness, these activities form a significant part of the local economy. Interestingly, even amid the political tension between Kenya and Uganda, Migingo has started to attract adventurous tourists looking for an unusual experience. The island's peculiar nature, its tiny size, overcrowding, and intense community dynamics draws the interest of visitors who want to see firsthand what it's like to live in such a unique place. These tourists find accommodation in improvised hotels, basic structures that offer minimal comfort amid the island's tough conditions. During their stay, they have the opportunity to interact with the local population, witnessing the daily life of fishermen, merchants, and workers from the bars and brothels. Migingo's economy extends beyond fishing, which is its primary activity, and also includes a network of small businesses that meet the basic needs of the local population. Among the metal shacks and narrow alleys, tailors maintain their small workshops, sewing and repairing clothes for the fishermen and other residents of the island. Beauty salons have also emerged as part of the informal economy, offering haircuts, hairstyles, and even small beauty treatments, allowing the inhabitants to maintain some level of personal care despite the precarious conditions. Pharmacies are another important aspect of local commerce, providing basic medicines and first aid to the population. However, the lack of quality medical infrastructure on the island is a constant challenge. In serious health cases, residents are forced to travel to the mainland for more specialized care. The absence of hospitals or clinics on Migingo creates a dependence on the mainland for medical services, which can be especially dangerous in emergencies when transportation may be difficult or delayed. This network of small businesses is vital for daily life on the island, offering essential services that, though limited, help help meet the immediate needs of the residents. Despite the lack of more developed infrastructure, Migingo's informal economy manages, resiliently, to keep the community functioning amid challenging conditions. Through Migingo, the community has developed its own justice system, relying on informal methods to handle conflicts and maintain order amid the chaotic environment. Without a formal authority or traditional judicial institutions, the island's inhabitants turn to community meetings, where elders and local leaders act as mediators. These gatherings play a crucial role in resolving disputes, ranging from minor misunderstandings to more complex issues related to life in such a limited and challenging space. Surprisingly, the crime rate on the island is low, given the cramped living conditions and lack of adequate infrastructure. The residents largely respect the norms set by the community itself, and punishments for minor offenses are swift and often harsh. Small crimes such as theft or violations of local rules can result in physical punishments, such as public lashings, meant to discourage wrongdoing and reinforce the sense of order. For more serious crimes, the penalty can be exile. In a place like Migingo, being banished from the island is a heavy sentence, as it means losing access to the main livelihood of most residents: fishing. Exile not only removes the criminal from their social and economic network, but also deprives them of basic means of survival. This form of punishment is effective in maintaining peace and respect for the rules, ensuring that, even without a formal legal system, life on the island continues with a certain level of order and harmony. Migingo is a true cultural melting pot, a result of the coexistence of different nationalities and ethnicities in an extremely limited space. The island, which mainly attracts residents from Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, reflects this diversity in its daily life, where multiple cultural influences meet and blend. Each group brings its traditions, habits, and ways of life, creating a unique environment where varied cultures coexist in a chaotic and dynamic setting. Swahili, a language widely spoken in East Africa, serves as the primary means of communication among the inhabitants, allowing Kenyans, Ugandans, and Tanzanians to interact and conduct their commercial and social activities. In addition to Swahili, English is also widely used, especially in business transactions and more formal contexts, given its prevalence as an official language in many countries in the region. However, the linguistic diversity is not limited to these two languages. Luganda, spoken predominantly in Uganda, is also common on the island, as are various other local dialects brought by the different groups who make Migingo their temporary or permanent home. This variety of languages and cultures transforms the island into a small community of multicultural interactions, where the influences of three different countries meet and intertwine in a tiny space. This coexistence, despite its challenges, generates a rich cultural mix that adds to the uniqueness of Migingo. Overpopulation in Migingo is one of the main challenges faced by its residents, with the population density increasing each year. The uncontrolled population growth, driven by both births and the constant arrival of new residents, further exacerbates the living conditions on the island. With less than half a hectare of land, the pressure on available space is immense, leading to an extremely compact and chaotic way of life. The environmental and social conditions are deteriorating rapidly, raising concerns about the island's long-term sustainability. Lake Victoria is undergoing a deep environmental crisis, marked by overfishing and the continuous degradation of its ecosystem. The pressure on the lake's resources has been so intense that about 80% of its native species have already disappeared, a fact that alarms environmentalists and fishing communities alike. The introduction of invasive species, pollution, and deforestation in the surrounding areas have also contributed to the decline of local biodiversity. The ecological balance of the lake, once home to a rich variety of fish and other wildlife, has been drastically altered, affecting the entire food chain. Although the island relies heavily on fishing resources, the waters around it still maintain considerable fish levels, sustaining the local economy. This relative preservation of resources around Migingo raises questions about resource management and the island's future, as the rest of the lake faces serious challenges. In the long term, without interventions to protect and restore Lake Victoria's ecosystem, even Migingo's resilience may be compromised. Migingo is a unique example of migration and trade freedom, characterized by the absence of strict border control. The island does not have a formal immigration system, allowing people to come and go without the need for visas or complex permits. This creates an environment where migrants, mostly fishermen, traders, and informal workers, can move freely in search of opportunities. This ease of access also reflects the fluid nature of the borders between Kenya and Uganda, which dispute control over the island but avoid imposing strict regulations. Trade on Migingo follows this same logic of informality. Goods, especially those related to fishing, are traded and exchanged with little bureaucratic interference, allowing a constant flow of merchandise between the island and the mainland. Small traders take advantage of this freedom to sell everything from food and drinks to fishing equipment and household items. This scenario allows the local economy to continue functioning in an agile and efficient manner, despite the lack of infrastructure and formal services that would be common in other areas. Now, let's talk about an interesting curiosity. Just a few kilometers from Migingo lies the mysterious island of Usingo, notably larger but shrouded in an aura of abandonment and mystery. Although it has more space and potential resources, almost no one dares to inhabit the island. The local belief is that Usingo has been taken over by an evil spirit, which is said to have migrated from Migingo. This superstition is shared by both fishermen and the few adventurers who approach the region. Stories of unexplained phenomena and feelings of unease surround the island, reinforcing its status as a feared place. Former residents say that attempts to colonize Usingo ended in tragedy or sudden abandonment, with entire families leaving the place in a hurry, claiming to have been pursued by invisible entities. These accounts are widely accepted by the Migingo community, discouraging any attempts at permanent occupation. Even with the economic potential of fishing and available land, the fear of a supernatural force outweighs the locals' material needs, perpetuating the mystery surrounding the haunted island. The history of Migingo is impressive. Initially, Migingo was a virtually unknown and avoided island due to the belief that it was home to an evil spirit. For a long time, the island remained empty and uninhabited, with no apparent economic or strategic interest. However, everything changed in the 1990s when fishermen exploring the waters around Lake Victoria discovered that the area near the island was exceptionally rich in fish, especially the valuable Nile perch. This discovery quickly turned the island into a highly contested place. As news of the abundance of fish spread, fishermen from various regions began migrating to Migingo, attracted by the promise of profit. Fishermen from Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania were the first to settle, bringing with them their cultures and languages, making the island a multicultural meeting point. From a previously ignored place, Migingo became a center of fishing prosperity, boosting the local economy with its commercial activity. As the population of fishermen increased and the island's wealth became more evident, Migingo began attracting the attention of regional authorities. Both Uganda and Kenya, recognizing the economic value of the fishing waters around the island, started claiming control of the territory. The dispute between the two countries escalated, turning Migingo into a geopolitical tension point in the region, with both governments acknowledging the island's strategic importance for their economies. Today, Migingo is seen as a true fishing treasure, vital to local economies and a symbol of territorial and resource disputes in the Lake Victoria region. Migingo's economic success attracted not only fishermen, but also pirates, who, aware of the wealth generated by fishing in the region, began launching frequent attacks on the island. These attacks created an environment of insecurity and fear among the residents, who were constantly worried about their lives and belongings. To try to solve the problem and ensure the island's safety, the Ugandan Coast Guard established a presence in Migingo in 2004. However, the presence of Ugandan authorities ended up creating tensions with local fishermen, mainly due to the imposition of taxes that many saw as illegitimate. In addition to pirate attacks, the island also became a stage for conflicts among the fishermen themselves. With the growing territorial dispute between Kenya and Uganda, fishermen from each country began defending the interests of their respective nations, resulting in a rivalry that sometimes turned violent. This internal conflict led to deaths and caused serious disruptions in fishing, an essential activity for Migingo's economy. The episode became known as the smallest war in Africa, highlighting the severity of the situation. Despite the small geographic scale involved, the dispute over Migingo also brought to light broader historical issues, reflecting the poorly defined borders established by European colonial powers during the colonization period. Both Uganda and Kenya claim control of the island, arguing they have legitimate rights over the territory due to the lack of clarity in maritime borders. This stalemate escalated tensions in 2009 when Uganda sent troops to protect the island, further increasing friction with Kenya. Although the two countries eventually reached an informal agreement to share the administration of Migingo, the territorial dispute still persists today. This uncertainty directly affects the daily lives of the residents, who face frequent interventions in fishing activities and are subject to taxes imposed by authorities on both sides. Even with the armistice, political uncertainty continues to loom over the island. Despite these challenges, the economic prosperity brought by fishing remains predominant. Fishermen continue to earn their livelihood from the rich waters around Migingo, and the community, although impacted by political tensions, finds ways to move forward and maintain their way of life, even under constant pressure. Life in Migingo raises many questions about what it really means to live in such a small, overcrowded place filled with challenges, but also full of stories and diversity. What do you think? Could you live in such an environment with so many people and so little infrastructure? Leave your thoughts in the comments about this unique reality. And if you enjoyed this curious story, don't forget to follow the channel and stay tuned for more adventures and stories from fascinating places around the world. See you next time.